This is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and in this episode we're going to compare two vacuum blenders. You guys know that I'm really into the vacuum blenders these days. I don't like to blend in a regular blender. I was actually traveling recently and got to blend in a friend's blend tech, and I was like, oh my god, this is so terrible. I can't go back to like regular blending after blending in a vacuum blender, and I don't believe you guys will either once you experience the difference. ETD. Experience the difference of vacuum blending. It does make a difference. Higher nutrition in there, better color, better tastes, less separation, and also, of course, you could store your smoothies for longer. That being said, after blending anything, I do encourage you guys to drink it right after you make it as well. So anyways, yeah, we're going to compare two vacuum blenders. We got the improved Dynapro by Tribest DPS-1050A. Now make sure if you guys get a Dynapro, make sure you guys get the the A model. Many retailers are still selling the original model, and the original model it doesn't have the latest upgrades. It doesn't include this automatic vacuum pump that makes using the Dynapro a breeze, as well as it doesn't have the upgraded Carafe. The new Carafe is actually clear. The older Carafe had a blue smoke tint on it. And the new Carafe works significantly better. Be sure to check the link down below in the description for a video I made specifically about this, going deep into detail about the upgraded 1050A model. And we're going to compare that to actually the just released Kuvings SV500S. So the SV500S, they formerly had a SV500B, which is black. Now they only make this in the silver color. So if you guys are lucky enough to have the black, that was like a limited edition, may not even come back anymore. Anyways, the silver model is a new color they have, and they have made some changes to this since it originally came out. Nothing super major, just a few minor changes here and there. So I'll be sharing those with you guys as well. And basically I'll say this, I've been using both these guys in my home for the last, several weeks, and each one of them have their pros and their cons. If I just said which one's better, well, you're going to have to wait for the end of this episode to see which one I declare better, because I'm actually going to test side by side the same exact blended mixtures in each of these guys so you guys can see the results. I've been using this in my own home and, blending similar mixtures because I do similar things all the time. I kind of know what happens, but I want to show you guys on film what exactly is going to happen. And so, in some cases, the Kuvings, quiet vacuum blender is superior than the Dynapro. But in some cases, the Dynapro is actually superior to the Kuvings. So that's what you're going to learn in this detailed episode today. Now before I go on, I want to encourage you guys to support me and my work. If you guys enjoy this video, if you learn from it, if you know now which vacuum blender to buy because of this video, I want to encourage you to support me and my work so I can continue to make these educational videos for everybody out there so that they could know the truth, because I literally have the appliances, I use them on a daily basis in my lives, and I just like to share with you guys the truths, and sometimes this is better and sometimes that's better, but it just depends on you. And of course, I have my personal favorite that I'll maybe reveal at the end after using these guys both in my kitchen. But yeah, I want you guys to support me in my work by making your purchase at DiscountJuicers.com. If you purchase anywhere else, I will not get the credit. I may not be able to continue to make videos. I may go out of business. So I didn't, appreciate if you guys ordered from me if you guys are looking for a vacuum blender. We do actually will match any other authorized dealer's price, including any coupons, discounts that have the item in stock, and it's the exact same item that is brand new. So before you buy from somewhere else, please let me know. Give me an opportunity to match the price. In most cases, I could actually do that for you guys and save you guys a little bit of money if that's important to you. Of course, that being said, if I would encourage you guys, if you've learned from my work, from my videos, just pay full price. I always mention discount codes at the end of this video so you guys can get a little bit of a discount on either of these machines as well. Alright, so let's get into this episode. Now, before I even start comparing and doing actual demonstration tests, comparing these two guys side by side, I want to get into some of the easy things to compare, which is basically just some of the specifications, alright? So here's the thing. The Kuvings at present time is approximately retailing for about $100 more than the Dynapro. So is the Kuvings worth $100 more or not? I mean, you guys will see that in this episode, right? Another thing besides from the price that many people may be price sensitive is the warranty, which is really important to me. You know, I use my appliances, including my slow juicer and vacuum blender, in my kitchen almost every day that I'm not traveling. And they're important to me, and I need them to work. I need them to work reliably, and I need them to work for a long time and not fail or break on me. You know, and in that respect, I will say I have had warranty issues with both these machines, because I did get some, you know, early models, and I had to send those both back at different points. And I've gotten new machines, and so definitely the manufacturers have taken care of me, and I expect that for them to take care of you as well from all the reports and feedback I get from my customers. That being said, the warranty length is really important. The Dynapro has a 15-year warranty, which is the longest warranty in the blender industry that I'm aware of. On the whole entire machine, not just the motor, because I know some blenders have a lifetime warranty on the motor, but honestly, the motor is the least likely thing to fail. Over on the Kuvings, you know, I wish it had a longer warranty, but it actually has less than half the warranty of the Dynapro, and yes, it costs $100 more. 7-year warranty on the entire machine on the Kuvings. So, you know, I would hope they would up their warranty game. Now, the other thing I'll say is that, you know, one of these machines is actually commercial certified and has ETL sanitation, which is equivalent to the NSF sanitation, which means if you own a restaurant, a juice bar, a coffee shop, wherever, and you need a commercial certified for the health department machine, only one of these machines is it, and the Dynapro 1050A is also commercially certified. So you can use this in a juice bar, restaurant, or whatever you guys got. The Kuvings does not have the commercial certification, although it was probably built to commercial standards. The other thing I will say is that if you are using these machines commercially, you know, different warranties may apply. I don't even know if there is a warranty if you use the Kuvings, you know, commercially, because it is meant for household use. That being said, the Dynapro, if you are using it for commercial use, it has a 3-year warranty, which is, I believe, quite long, because most commercial blenders are usually about 1 year. Now, aside from the price and the warranty, other things that are important to me include the accessories that are included with the machine, right? Pretty much with the Kuvings, you get the whole blender, as you guys see here. You get an instruction manual and recipe book. And then you also get this little nice thing here. This is basically just a storage carafe, which has like a little ball at the bottom, which is removable. It's attached with a magnet. But basically this thing at the bottom, this little ball, spins around to help mix up your drink. So say you're done blending, you could pour it in here, and then actually you could go ahead and you could put this jar in here, and then put the lid on, and now you can suck a vacuum in the lid to basically vacuum store whatever you've blended, so you don't have to take your expensive blender carafe with you. And actually you're going to press this, you're going to turn the unit on, and then you're going to press this button here, which is a vacuum only mode. And as you guys can see, it spins a little round red ball in there, and it creates like a little vortex, and it's spinning it, so it's helping to remove some of the air, and it's actually also sucking out some of the excess oxygen in there. And yeah, so that's how how that works. So that's nice that they have a storage carafe that comes with it extra. Meanwhile, the Dynapro does not come with any extra kind of storage carafe, but it does come with a tamper, which Kuvings has announced a tamper kit for their blender, their vacuum blender, but it has not appeared yet, and it will be at additional cost. In my opinion, they should have included the tamper kit with the machine for the price they're charging. That being said, TriBest does include a stir stick that can be used as a tamper to help push things into the blender should you be blending and you're not using the vacuum function. You know, you can't stick anything in the blender if it's under vacuum, because you will lose the vacuum. All right, so I do like that. So it gives you kind of further flexibility to do blend thick items should you not want to do the vacuum feature. In addition, the TriBest unit also comes with an external vacuum pump, right? The Kuvings has an internal vacuum pump, so that means this is all in one unit. It's a motor that runs the blender. It also has a little vacuum pump in there that'll suck out the vacuum, you know, when you have this sound enclosure on, which is kind of cool because it's all nice and neat and enclosed. but Trivest provides you a separate vacuum pump that you just literally put on the top of the unit and you press the button. And then it'll basically just kick on. It'll suck out all the excess oxygen out of the carafe to put your blended mixture under vacuum. You need to do this first before you actually turn on the machine, so then you will actually blending under vacuum. I like on the Kuvings, actually it's a lot easier than actually doing any kind of manual thing and pressing buttons. You basically just put the carafe on, put the sound enclosure on, you just basically press this middle button, which is basically blend and vacuum. So first it starts out the vacuum, and the interesting thing about the Kuvings upgraded model with the silver, when the vacuum does come on, it starts to spin the blade around. I guess it's not really cutting up things because it's going at a really low RPM. It just maybe to help get some extra air out of there. It's kind of interesting. And then that guy kicks on the vacuum and sucks out the extra oxygen. And so that's how they each work. If I had to say one vacuum pump is more quiet, I mean, the Kuvings actually vacuum pump, for being a quiet sound enclosure, is actually a bit louder than the Trivest, which seems to be, the pump, which seems to be a little bit, not as loud. So that's how those guys work. Let's turn these guys off. And so yeah, that's how the vacuum functions work. This is totally built-in integrated. I do actually like, on some levels, a sound enclosure because it definitely keeps things a lot more quiet. But on the other hand, I kind of like this guy. Oh, and I want to say, although they don't have any kind of storage carafes with the Dynapro, what you guys could use and what I use as storage carafes is just very simply a mason jar. I like the one with a wide mouth, right? You just basically get a mason jar with a wide mouth and just the standard lids that come with a mason jar. I mean, you could get a dozen of them for maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 bucks. And then you're going to buy this Food Saver jar sealer attachment. These guys are about $10. And you're going to put that on top of the mason jar. And then the cool thing is, this Trivest vacuum pump works with this attachment. So you basically just there's an O-ring on the bottom, you seal it around the top, you press this down, and what's going to happen is this is pulling a vacuum, and with this special top, it sucks out all the excess oxygen out of the glass jar. So, me personally, I'd much rather store something in a glass jar than a plastic container. And that being said, you could buy countless amounts of mason jars for pretty inexpensive. Once you guys have this attachment, you could vacuum them all with the vacuum pump here. Whereas if you want to have additional storage containers on the Kuvings, then you have to actually just buy more storage containers from Kuvings. And actually, I don't know the retail price on that, but I could definitely say that mason jars going to be a lot less expensive. So you can see the vacuum I pulled on it. We'll just pull that off so you guys can hear it. Yeah, and the only caveat about this is that this puts a pretty strong vacuum on it. So sometimes when you lift up, it may be difficult to lift up. It will take maybe a little bit of strength to get your fingernails underneath there. But totally works fine. That's how I've been storing actually all my juices and blended smoothies and even, just other foods that I want to put in the fridge with this Trivest vacuum pump. Let's see. So I think that's probably some of the main things. I did want to get into some of the different motor specifications, right? The Kuvings is rated at 3.5 peak horsepower. This is manufacturer's provided data, and over on the Trivest, the manufacturer claims it to be 2.5 peak horsepower. And so you could say, oh, that one's like 1 horsepower more. Is it better? Well, horsepower could be an interesting game. It depends on how the company individually rates them, which the ratings may be different. The other thing is the wattage. So this guy is about 1700 watts. This is 1865 watts. So technically this pulls more watts. Does that mean it's more powerful? Well, they could have a less efficient motor in there. So I really think what's important, instead of all these numbers for specifications, is actually how they work in the real world. It's a lot more important to me. Another thing that's quite important to me is actually the speed the blade runs. So the Dynapro is rated at 25,000 RPMs, and the Kuvings is rated at 20,000 RPMs with a 32,000 RPM maximum. So I don't know what exactly that means, if sometimes it'll peak up to 32,000 or not. Which one goes faster? Well, maybe the Kuvings goes faster than the Dynapro, but I don't know. Does that really matter in the performance? I guess we will see when we start doing some tests. Of course, getting over to the carafes here, the main difference is the size of the carafe, right? So if you make single servings, you're a single person, you know, hey, this smaller carafe might be kind of good. It basically, you should not fill this more than 1,200 milliliters, which is about 40.5 ounces. If you fill over this, you have the potential of damaging the built-in vacuum hardware because some of the liquids may get sucked into the vacuum pump, which is actually not too good. Whereas on the Dynapro, you could probably easily fill this up to like 64 ounces without any issue, and you still won't get anywhere near, you know, pumping liquids in to the vacuum pump. And if you do mess up the vacuum pump, you just gotta basically probably buy another one of these, or you could use actually even a hand pump that comes with the Dynapro. Whereas on this guy, you gotta basically send the whole unit back for repair. And if you are negligent and filling your carafe higher than you're supposed to, then the max line, it may not be covered under warranty and probably won't be covered under warranty. So I do like actually the size of the carafe on the Dynapro. You know, it does just hold a lot more. The Kuvings, I like the carafe for doing smaller volumes, right? So if you're the person like John Oliver blend about 32 ounces of stuff, this is gonna be great. You know, on the Dynapro, right, you should have at least minimum, I'd say at least 16 ounces to really get a nice blend in there. If you don't have enough liquid because the carafe is so wide and so fat at the bottom, small volumes don't technically blend too well in the Dynapro due to the blade design that doesn't go out to the exact edges of the carafe. Hopefully Dynapro will come out with a you know, new smaller size carafe that will basically, you know, correct this issue. On the same token, I hope that Kuvings comes out with a larger carafe, maybe with a larger dome that goes even higher, so they could fit a larger carafe inside there and even have a 64 ounce. I don't know. I personally don't like the smaller carafe too much. That being said, if we pop these guys open, I want to show you guys the inside of these. There's a vacuum on there. So both these guys, when you pull off the lids, you do need to kind of like lift up on them. So I will say that the Dynapro is actually a little bit easier because they have these tabs. So there's a tab on the carafe itself and another tab. So basically I put one thumb on the tab, a finger on the other tab on the lid, and lift up the vacuum port, and this just basically will lift up. You guys see how that works? Just lift up like that. Super simple, super easy. On the Kuvings, a little bit more difficult. They have basically this one lid here, so I just hold on to the handle like this, and I push up with my thumb while I'm pulling the other hand up here, and they basically will come up like that. So not too difficult, and that can take some use. And remember, after each use, you will need to pull out the vacuum plug there to release the vacuum before opening, or you're probably not going to be able to open it. Now, I want to say about the carafe design on both these guys. They both have these flutes on the side, which I'm not a super huge fan of. It can make, you know, removing, you know, thick, like creamy dressings made out of macadamia nuts and orange juice a little bit more difficult. And the thing I really don't like about the Kuvings, and I don't know if you guys can see that in there, look at the bottom of the carafe. In the bottom of the carafe, there's actually these lines that are actually indented, so they come up into the carafe, and it just sit up a little bit. I don't know if this is for like additional agitation to kind of help some things get agitated in there, but they're like little like speed bumps literally in the bottom of the carafe. And you know, to me, it may be good because it improves performance, but to me, like from a user standpoint, trying to like, you know, if I have a thick, creamy macadamia nut dressing, and macadamia nuts are not cheap, I'm trying to scrape that out. I can't really get my spatula in and around those little speed bumps in the bottom to get all my creamy sauce out. That being said, on the bottom of the Tri-Best, it may look like they have the flutes, but actually the speed bumps, they're actually on the bottom. On the top here, it's just totally smooth, so that's a lot easier to get in there. In addition, this carafe is a lot wider, so it's easier to get my spatula in there to basically spatula out all my different, you know, creamy nut sauces that I'm making in the blender. Now the other thing I will say is that one of these blenders have a sharper blade, and I will say publicly, and I have said it many times, I'm a fan of sharp blades on blenders. So for that reason, don't ever stick your hand into the blender and try to check the sharpness of the blade, because you may cut yourself, right? So don't do it. But I will tell you that, you know, when I got the improved Dynapro carafe, I did put my finger in the blender and I did cut myself. So don't do that. the improved model is actually quite sharp. That being said, I've also stuck my finger in the Kuvings to check the blade sharpness, and actually I haven't cut my finger because it's actually not that sharp. So, you know, some blender companies like to maybe beat more than they like to cut. I think optimal blending occurs when you actually have beating and cutting both, right? And so the other thing is on the Tri-Best, there's a 4-prong blade, so you guys can see the 4 blades that I'm spinning around there. Pretty much a standard style design. And then actually on the Kuvings, they have it's a 6-prong blade, so they have a lower prong with 4 blades, and then a upper prong with 2 blades. So it's a little bit different on the designer there. So let's see here. Both these carafes, I mean, I'd say the Dynapro is a little bit heavier just because it's a little bit bigger, but that's pretty much how they are, both carafes. So you guys can see. Oh, and aside from the carafes, what I really like, or in some cases dislike, are the lids. You know, every time I use my blender, you get the glob when it goes glunk, and your stuff hits the lid, and then you got to clean your lid or spatula it off to clean it, to get your sauces off the lid before you clean it, so they don't go down the sink. And I will say, actually, I probably like the Dynapro lid a little bit better than the Kuvings. The lid's just a lot more easy to get in a spatula, to get in all your liquids. It also is clear, which I kind of like to see what's going on. So that's pretty easy to clean. The Kuvings, you know, I mean, it's not difficult to clean. Actually, the Optimum blender, Vac 2, actually had even a worse lid to clean. But this is actually not too bad. But it does have some nooks and crannies in here that kind of is inset. And then also you have this little piece here, which you know, in some cases you should be unscrewing to check to see if you got like stuff underneath inside here. And if you fill your craft too much, stuff will get, you know, caught in here. And if you don't ever remove this piece to clean it, you know, it might harbor some bacteria and things in there. So I remove that every time after using the Kuvings vacuum blender. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it on the carafes. I think we talked about the blenders, the warranties, what's included. Oh yeah, let's talk about the functions on the blender themselves. So let's go ahead and get these assembled up. So I will say both these machines have built-in safety switches, which means if you do not properly assemble the blender, it will not turn on. So in the case of the Kuvings, what does that mean? That means you either line up the handle in the front right or the front left, right? If you put the blender on with the handle to the back, either this way, which it actually won't fit, or this way, which it actually won't fit either. It won't fully seat in there. The blender will not work, so you need to make sure that you put it on there properly. And then the vacuum sound enclosure only goes on one way. It has this little black line, which actually always goes to the back left of the machine, which is this side over here. So that's fully assembled. And on the Dynapro, basically they have these tabs on the bottom of the blender. And so no matter which way you put this on, one way, 2 ways, any way you put this on, it'll basically it'll kick the safety on so that it'll allow the blender to come on. So you can't just run the blender without the carafe being on there. I do want to say they did make improvements to this on the original Dynapro 1050 without the A. I did break one of the tabs, which is kind of a pain because I had to like rotate it the additional direction. Oh, and I forgot to mention also on the Tri-Best carafe, which is really nice, something that Kuvings does not have. It actually has that little blue star. Do you guys see that blue star? That blue star is actually a temperature star. So what that means is, you know, should your blended mixture get above 118 degrees inside there, that the blue star will change into a different color. So this allows you to monitor the temperature without having to stick a thermometer, without having to take an infrared thermometer to see how hot you guys are running in there. So I do like that Tri-Best does have that innovation on their blender. Now, you know, on the Dynapro, you can basically adjust the time you're going to use. So I could set it all the way up to the maximum of 5 minutes. Meanwhile, on the Kuvings, there is a label on the back that says, what does it say? It says maximum run time 2 minutes. Yeah, maximum continuous use 2 minutes. So, you know, I mean, I would think for, you know, a blender that costs this much, you would be able to run it for longer than 2 minutes. Whereas on the Dynapro that costs $100 less, you could run it up to 5 minutes, you know, as shown by its pre-programmed cycle. So that, you know, to me, says a little bit, all right? So I guess with that, we covered all, oh, I want to do a sound test next for you guys. One of these guys is quieter. I'm not going to, you know, say anything about that. I'm going to say that the Kuvings is definitely quieter. We're going to go ahead and take my decibel meter and turn this on. And we're going to go ahead and start the Kuvings on a blend cycle. Then we'll just actually turn it up to max, all right? So this is my sound meter, turn up to max. So I don't know if you guys saw that, but I was reading about 83 approximately decibels, right? Let's go ahead and turn the Tri-Best on to max as well. Let's see here. Wow. So I had about 94 decibels, so that's at least 11 decibels louder than the Kuvings. So, if, you know, the most important thing for you guys is noise factor, and you want a vacuum blender, get the Kuvings. It's probably the quietest vacuum blender that I've tested to date. So next, I'll be testing the two blenders, blending the same exact mixture. We're going to first do like a dry test. So we're going to basically grind up flax seeds into flax powder to see which blender is more efficient at turning it into a powder. The next thing we'll do is we'll be testing actually water plus nuts to see if all the nuts are blended or if some are actually left over. And then finally we'll be testing actually kind of a wet blend to see the sheer torque and power on the blenders, to see which one of these machines actually has more torque to actually power through the different blender mixtures. You know, I will say that both these blenders have some built-in intelligence, which in some instances, you know, are probably good because they will save your motor and shut down the blender before you burn out your motor. But in some cases, they may be bad because maybe it shuts down too early, and then you don't get your mixtures blended, right? Whereas like old school blenders with just a motor with no computer electronics just blend until they go out because they're overheating due to their thermal resistor thing. All right. So we got about even amounts, about 4.5 ounces of flax seeds that we're going to pour into each blender. First, the Kuvings, and we got the sound enclosure on there. And now with the Dynapro. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and put the top on. So now here's the interesting thing, right? On this new revision, Kuvings has actually changed some of the button meanings. So the original button was a vacuum only mode. The middle button was vacuum and blend, which is their auto blend cycle, that it actually figures out how much it needs to blend and blends on a cycle and then shuts itself off. And the last button is for a blend only mode. So at this point, they don't really have it set up so that actually you could vacuum and then manually blend like they used to, because the original button that's for vacuum only works with that carafe that I showed you. It will not work with the standard carafe. It'll only work with the storage carafe that I showed you guys earlier. So we're going to have to kind of do this a little bit differently on the Kuvings. So to do that, we're probably just going to turn this guy on, and we're going to hit the vacuum mode. And as you guys can see, as it's vacuuming, it just basically spins the blade on the inside there. And we're going to go ahead and pull a vacuum on the Tri-Best. And what I'm going to have to do is actually, as soon as this starts to blend on its cycle, we're going to have to actually shut it off real quick, and then we're going to actually then turn it on full blast, full mode, to basically get blended, so we could actually compare apples to apples, blending the same exact amount of time. So I personally don't like that Kuvings took out this feature. Kuvings does not want you actually to reblend after you vacuum blended only on one cycle. So now it was about to blend, so we turned it off. Kuvings probably doesn't want you to do this because they just want you to do an auto cycle, not reblend. I think they are concerned that you know, if the blended mixture is in there, because it has been blended, maybe some extra liquid will get into the, you know, vacuum apparatus. So I think this one probably vacuumed out a little bit quicker, just due to the fact that the carafe is maybe half the size, so that it does not actually have to pull out too much air, whereas the Dynapro vacuum is still working. So we'll come back at you in a few seconds once we've pulled the good vacuum. Alright, so we've just pulled a good vacuum on the Dynapro. We're going to go ahead and remove the vacuum pump. And so I think what we're going to do is we're just going to turn these guys on high for about the same amount of time. And so let's see, to do that, we're just going to go ahead and turn that up. Alright, so we just ran it, and now we turn it off, and now let's check the results here. Both pretty much worked pretty well. Tap that down, let's make sure we got a vacuum on here. Yep, nice vacuum on that one. So I do like to now only blend things under vacuum because I don't think it can hurt, right? On the flax seeds, right, as soon as you break open the walls of the shell, you know, it can be exposed to oxidation. But because you are now vacuum blending, you know, there's going to be less oxidation to occur once you break open the seeds. And that being said, once you do break open the seeds, I will then store this in like a glass jar, put under vacuum in my fridge. So once again, you will get minimal oxidation. I think doing it this way is a lot better than buying, you know, pre-milled, you know, flax seeds from the store. Alright, so that's pretty much that, and let's go ahead and pull the vacuum on the Dynapro here. Also pretty nice vacuum on there. Tap the lid down, and let's pour this baby in there. I mean, so far so good. I mean, both of them look like they've done quite a good job. Of course, sometimes agitating the blender, you know, or stopping it and starting it may, you know, yield better results. Of course, in this test, I did not do that. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to go ahead and shake down and basically sift out all the ground flax meal, and we're going to see what's left in the sieve here. Alright, so we got pretty much the Kuvings sieved out, and now for the Dynapro. Alright, so this is quite interesting actually. Let me go ahead and show you guys what happened here. So this is the Kuvings, and this is the Dynapro. And if I had to inspect these guys closely, I will say that actually the Kuvings actually did probably a little bit better job. I see basically some kind of like shell fragments or some large pieces that didn't fit through the sieve. I barely see any full seeds in there. There may be a few, but actually over on the Dynapro, you know, I definitely see some whole unground seeds and you know, some shell fragments. I will say that if it did blend in the Dynapro, it probably blended a little bit more finer than the Kuvings, but the Dynapro missed some. Now I believe that to be because, you know, there's some dead spots in this blender, especially when you're blending dry ingredients. If you're blending wet things, that doesn't happen because the wet ingredients are basically forced and tunneled into the blades. And because I didn't agitate or shake up or maybe pulse the blender, which may have been a better way to grind up my flax seeds, you know, things got cut around the edges and it wasn't actually quite circulating as well. And actually that's where the smaller carafe in the Kuvings actually benefits you in this case. And I'll have to go ahead and declare the winner of the flax seed grinding contest, the Kuvings. So as much as I like to grind my flax seeds in a flax meal, I don't actually blend too many other dry things in the blender because after all, a blender is for blending liquid. So that's what we're going to be testing next. We're basically just going to blend up even amounts of water with basically 1 cup of almonds, which are nice and hard, you know. I'm doing this test to see, like, will the blender basically turn the almonds into a liquid and make small particle sizes that then we'll then put through a fine sieve to really make sure these guys are working good. And we're going to see what happens. So let's go ahead and first load up the Kuvings. Let me get some of this extra flax stuff out of the bottom of this guy. Alright, so first we got the water, a little bit over 2 cups of water going into each blender. And we got 2 cups, same amount, going into the Dynapro. You know, I do have to say I do like the Dynapro because it actually has a nice fat and wide top to pour things in so you don't miss the hole. I hate missing the hole. And then, let's see, 1 cup of the almonds right there. These are unsoaked almonds, so this is extra hard for the blender. Of course, soaking the almonds, you may remove some phytates, and they'll be also softer and easier to blend. That being said, there are some benefits to including some phytates in your diet, in my opinion. They have been shown to be anti-cancer. So anyways, let's go ahead and put those guys in. And man, like, I want to make sure we do an even and fair test. I'm going to have to kind of do the fudging with the Kuvings again to basically get it to vacuum and then put it on full speed for the same amount of time in the Dynapro, because if we just put this on the automatic setting where it just blends however it wants at different settings, you know, that may not be a fair and accurate test, because I don't know, number one, how long the time cycle is going to last, whereas on the Dynapro you have, you know, specific time cycles you could set it for. You also have a, you know, single touch button mode, blend, pulse, and combo. Each time you press one of these 3 buttons, it's going to run the blender for 30 seconds, so you can press the combo button twice. It's going to run a combo cycle, which in my opinion, this guy may run for about 1.5 minutes. So that may be equivalent, but once again, I want to try to compare apples to apples for you guys. So let's go ahead and turn this baby on. Nope, I'm going to turn it back to here. We're going to press the vacuum, and we're going to go ahead and vacuum the Tri-Best. So once again, you know, it is trying to, oh, what's going on with that? Got to make sure we have a good vacuum on there. Well, I guess it's not really blending, it's just kind of spinning the blades around. So this is what it does when it's actually vacuuming. It kind of tricked me up. It's like, whoa, it's really blending, but it's still pulling the vacuum. So that's just how this works. It's kind of getting a head start, man. Alright, so I think right there was going to start to blend. Let's go ahead and make sure we got a good vacuum on there. Alright, I think we got a good vacuum on that one. And the Tri-Best is still pulling vacuum. We'll be back at you when the Tri-Best has achieved the vacuum. Alright, we have a vacuum on the Tri-Best as well. Let's see here. Turn that on. And let's see, this guy is we're going to press each one of these buttons and crank it up to high for the same amount of time. Alright, we've turned both machines off. They've run approximately the same amount of time. And let's go ahead and check the results. So over on the Kuvings, pull this guy off. Yes, we did have vacuum, so that is definitely really good. Pull that top off, tap it down. Over on the Dynapro, once again, pull off the vacuum and pop this lid off here. And now we get to take a look and see which one produced more fiber in the blended mixture. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit more difficult. We're going to go ahead and shake this down as we strain. Definitely a good amount of fiber left in the Kuvings. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and speed this up for you, because I'm just going to be kind of like shaking it down for all your milk. It's going to take a few minutes. Alright, so this is what we got on the Kuvings. Let's go ahead and pour out the Dynapro. Maybe it's done a little bit better, but we shall see. Alright, so I just got done shaking out the Tri-Best, and here is the Kuvings. So I mean, this is kind of pretty close to call. Like, I couldn't really say one made more than the other, because if I like one strained out more, it's going to be lighter, so I can't really do it by weight. I will say that neither of these machines like really ground up things into a pulp, like super fine. I'd say pretty much on this test, I'm gonna have to call it a tie, just because I mean it looks pretty similar to me. What do you guys think? Ugh. I will say it's interesting. If we look at the bottom of the sieve, you can see on the Kuvings, you know, there's some stuff kind of coming through the sieve. But actually, if we take a look at the Tri-Best, you know, there's a lot more stuff kind of coming through the same size sieve, which would lead me to believe that actually the Tri-Best, maybe by a little bit, was able to better grind up things into a finer particle size that then was able to fit through the sieve there. But, I mean, for all practical purposes, I'll call this one a tie. Alright, so far so good. It actually has been quite an interesting test. I guess the Kuvings won, and the other one was a tie. So, the next one actually is a blender torture test. So, you know, in my opinion, this test puts lots of strain or resistance on the motor shaft because it actually is quite difficult to blend up. So, we're going to see if one of these blenders will stop, like I was able to basically get the Optimum Vac blender to stop. Be sure to check the link down below where I compare the Optimum Vac 2 blender against the Dynapro, and this is actually a task that the Optimum was not able to complete. So we're going to see if the, we know the Dynapro can do it, but can the Kuvings do it? So what we're going to be blending now is I basically have about even amounts, which is basically 1,000 milliliters loose of pulp from my juicer today. I juiced beets, carrots, and ginger in there, so a little bit of ginger, probably mostly carrots and beets. And we're just going to go ahead and put this literally dry mixture into the blender there. Make sure we get all that in there. And so that's just like pulp, man. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I like to extract more nutrients from my pulp, although in my opinion I've gotten the majority of the nutrients. There's still some valuable pigment, phytochemicals, and other nutrients in there. So what I like to do is actually, you know, put the pulp in the blender, and then what I do is actually we're going to go ahead and blend it with some liquid. You could use water, you could use coconut water. Basically, you're just going to get a liquid to blend the nutrients into, and then I'm going to take that mixture and then extract it. Once again, put it through the juicer again to extract basically the liquid that's deep pigmented. So we have about 3 cups of liquid in here that we're going to go ahead and put in. Hopefully this does not overload the Kuvings. Ooh, might get pretty close. Oh, we're right up to the full mark. So don't process anything more than this in the Kuvings. It's going to basically be overloaded. Now because we are loading up the Kuvings to the max, it may not be efficient at blending the total mixture up, right? Because this is a super thick mixture. So I guess we will find out actually what happens. Got that top on nice and securely. Put the sound enclosure on. And let's go ahead and put the top on the Dynapro. And I think on this one we're going to go ahead and do an automatic. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and turn this baby on, and we're going to start the vacuum up on the Tri-Best going a little bit earlier, because what's going to happen is the Kuvings seems to be a little bit quicker to vacuum out. So if you want to save time, get the Kuvings. It's going to be done vacuuming before the Dynapro. Another question arises, John, which one pulls more of a vacuum? That's a good question. I don't exactly know the answer on that one. I mean, they both seem to have a good vacuum, you know, when I empty the carafes or when I let the air back in. So I will say that, does more vacuum matter? I mean, I'm sure there's a point where at a certain vacuum, there's so much air removed that you're really not going to get the oxidative damage. Would a little bit more help? I mean, I'd say potentially, but probably it's like a rate of diminishing returns, if you guys know what I mean. Once you got a sufficient vacuum and most all the oxygen's out of there, I think you're good, and getting a little more vacuum, I don't know if that'll make it that much better. Alright, so the Dynapro has definitely pulled the vacuum. Let's go ahead and press that button once, which is actually going to pull a vacuum, but also at the same time when it's pulling a vacuum, it's starting to spin that blender blade up a little bit. This is a new feature on the silver model that wasn't on the black model, and I don't really know if I like this. I mean, I could see some bubbles kind of like bubbling up as it's vacuuming out, which is probably pretty good, but I'd rather have the blender actually not blend until it's fully vacuumed myself personally. Okay, that's done, and now we're going to hit the combo button. Alright, did you guys see that? The Kuvings blender now is just beeping and it's making an air sound. Alright, so the TriBest ran the full minute and a half, no problems, and it actually has a nice blended mixture. You guys can see it's actually really did a good job actually. And on the Kuvings actually, it's sitting here beeping at me, right? And in my opinion, what this is like the mixture is so thick, it basically just shut itself off because it felt basically resistance on the motor shaft. It did not want to overheat the motor, and basically it shut itself off, so then we could basically maybe turn it to the middle. And actually we're going to have to hand blend it, and let's see if it can work this way. Alright, so I was hand blending it or doing the manual operation. Same exact thing happened. It worked for a little bit, it blended up pretty good, but it didn't go nearly the minute and a half. Maybe it went for another 15 seconds, and now it's sitting here beeping at me again, man. One thing that upsets me more is when my mixture that I want to blend, that I know other blenders can do, certain blenders literally are unable. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be blending super thick things, but, you know, in my opinion, a blender should be able to blend something like this. You know, other blenders do. So let's see, we can try to start it up again. And I'm sure soon enough it'll actually kick off again. Alright, third time's a charm. I guess that time the Kuvings actually worked to blend the whole mixture up. You know, so it did have some challenges and some difficulties. Let's go ahead and just make sure that this guy is still actually under vacuum. We did not lose the vacuum. Yes, so we still have vacuum on there. Lift this top up. I will say that the top on the Kuvings is a little bit more difficult to get off than on the TriBest unit there. And you can see this little port there kind of getting all clogged up with the mixture. Once again, let's go ahead and take the TriBest off, and once again pull the vacuum. Once again, nice vacuum on there as well. And lift this lid off. And I mean, these are the consistencies. I can't really strain this out. It would just definitely not work. These both will get run through the juicer to extract all the liquid out, and then basically I'm done with the pulp after extracting it a second time. Make sure you check the link down below if you want to see exactly what I'm doing. It's a way to get up to 25% more juice out of your pulp after you're done juicing. I mean, I can't really say, well, I can't say which one actually blended better in this case, but I can say which blender worked better, which in my opinion is the Dynapro. Basically worked for a minute and a half, and that has been my experience off camera. This is something I do on a regular basis, and actually I have the Dynapro sitting in my kitchen because I've tried to use the Kuvings with this recipe or with this specific task, and every time I do it, it actually just shuts down like you guys saw it do a little bit earlier. So this is really interesting, right? Kuvings won the Flax. You know, we had a tie kind of like on the dry almonds or the wet almonds. And now we have basically the TriBest running this, or winning this one. Who's the winner? That's a good question. I don't know yet. I think we have a tie. So actually we're going to have to do a tiebreaker. I wasn't planning on doing this. But what I'm going to do next is actually go ahead and prepare a blended salad with basically just salad fixings blended up in the blender to see which blender will reign supreme in this blend-off comparison. Alright, so we're back for the final tiebreaker. I wasn't expecting to do this, but I've thrown something together real quick. I've already preloaded each of the blender crafts with even amounts of foodstuffs, 598 grams exactly. I'll explain to you guys what I put into my blended salad that I'll be eating tonight after this video. So in the bottom we got some actually sauerkraut juice I made by juicing fresh sauerkraut I made. That's the purple stuff at the bottom. Then we have basically a bunch of tomatoes in here at the bottom. And then going up after that, I got like half of an onion in there, 1 clove of garlic. And then we got basically 1 whole romaine heart in there. And then at the top, we got actually some freeze-dried avocado to give us some nice texture. And then I put some miso in there for a little bit of salty flavor, plus some fermented beans. And then to kick up the beans, because beans are so healthy for you guys, I got actually some fermented soybeans known as natto, which is high in vitamin K2 and natto kinase enzyme that also may be good for cleaning out your blood system. I think that's actually all. Oh, and then also I got some flax seeds in there, and then I got some organic nutritional yeast from Germany. All right. So that's what we're blending up today. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the auto mode on both machines. So we're just going to go ahead and pull a vacuum on the Tri-Vest first and get this going. And then we're going to go ahead and get the Kuvings blender going as well. So we're just going to hit the center button, which will basically vacuum and then auto blend for however long it determines it needs to. And then we're just going to go ahead and put the Tri-Vest on a blend of 1.5 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and hit that guy up. Oops. Hit that guy to start it up. So as you guys can see, even though it's not officially blending, when you are vacuuming, it starts to actually kind of rub things up. This may be good because it could help kind of like lower stuff down into the blender and draw it in. You guys can see it already blended up pretty much the tomatoes, although some of the other stuff is still sticking at the top. You know, that's one of the things I'm not a big fan of on the more narrow carafes, whether it's a smaller size or larger. So that's starting up there, and this guy is still vacuuming. All right. That's done vacuuming. Let's go ahead and put this on for 1.5 minutes. All right, so both blenders are shut off now. The Tri-Vest took a little bit longer than the Kuvings, and looks like to me both of the machines actually did quite a good job. That's how the Kuvings looks. And let's go ahead and pull off the Dynapro there to show you guys. Consistency-wise or color, you know, it's pretty much the same. Let's go ahead and release the vacuum, so that's a good vacuum on there. And lift off the top here. A little bit of a bear to get off there. Wow, a little bit stuck. All right, got that up. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Let's again release the vacuum on the Dynapro and lift this guy off. The lid comes off a lot more easy. I will say that actually we got more splashing on the Dynapro than on the Kuvings. Actually a lot more stuff on the top of the lid there. And looking at both mixtures, that's the mixture in the Tri-Vest, and this is the mixture in the Kuvings. I mean, pretty much they kind of look similar. Let's go ahead and taste test it. It's quite good. Kind of tastes like baby food. Like, it's really blended down. Nice and fine. I really don't taste any kind of grit. It's definitely really good. Let's go ahead and next try the Dynapro. I mean, I'd say the consistency is like kind of like the same. I'm not tasting any big fragments. It's quite interesting. I mean, on this test, I'm gonna have to call it a tie. So we can't have a tiebreaker of a tiebreaker already. I'm out of things to blend tonight. Plus, this video is already going on too long for you guys. So I guess with that, I'm gonna have to declare the winner of this blender off. Although these guys on many levels actually tied. On some levels, you know, one is better than the other, and because I mean, in the results, I mean they're pretty close, and one test could go this way, one test could go this way. I'd say basically you want to get the blender that's going to be best for you, and whatever that means to you is. You know, if you want one that's more quiet, then you want to go with this one, right? If you guys like a smaller size and you don't make super big size, and you want to make sure if you get the Kuvings not to overload it, you know, it's a maximum, it has a red line of the maximum fill point, 40.5 ounces. Don't overfill it. You probably will run into problems if you do that. So know that you can only blend 40 ounces pre-blend. After blending, it may rise up a little bit. And this is probably going to work a little bit better, you know, according to the testing that I've done today. You know, for smaller amounts, this works best. And then in smaller amounts than this, you know, I would say minimum, if you're going to blend at least 32 ounces each time, then this machine would be good. If you're going to blend less than 32 ounces, this machine would not be good because it flings stuff up a little bit too much. We had just enough stuff in this mixture so that it actually worked all right. But if I had half as much stuff, you know, unless you have lots of liquid, it's not really going to blend too well. So, but if you have a large family and like to do big amounts and you got to make smoothies for a bunch of people, then you're going to want to go with the Tri-Best, obviously, because that carafe holds, you know, like significantly more than the little baby carafe of the Kuvings. I guess if you are blending thick items like I was a little bit earlier today, you're going to want to go with the Dynapro. It can handle thicker mixtures, although I have also gotten the Dynapro to shut off if my mixture was too thick. That being said, this would basically not even do some of those even super thick mixtures like I do mature coconut meat and coconut water. Oh, and let's not forget about the warranty, right? This machine has double the warranty. 8 extra years over this guy, which is 7. This is 15-year warranty. So that means for the next 15 years, you won't have to buy another vacuum blender if this fails due to manufacturer's defect. It will be replaced under warranty. So that's impressive. And then not to mention that this machine is also $100 less. So the question comes down to this. Is it worth to get a machine that's $100 more, that's maybe about even in performance with the Dynapro? That depends on you. I've kind of explained the situations on why you'd want to go this way, why you'd want to go this way. And as for me, I'm going to have to declare the winner, and actually the unit that actually sits on my countertop that I use, and actually that is the Dynapro. I'm going to say the Dynapro wins in this blender off vacuum blender comparison, just for the sheer fact that it costs less, it has over twice the warranty, and it performed, you know, for me on the thickness test, it performed better than the Kuvings, which is really important because I don't like to get frustrated with blenders. You know, in other performance tests, it's fairly similar. I mean, yeah, this is a super one, tough to call, but I'd have to edge out and say the Dynapro. Oh, plus I, of course, like the separate vacuum attachment instead of it being integrated. This does run on AA batteries. I do encourage you guys to get the EN loop batteries that are rechargeable for this, so you don't have to keep buying alkaline AA's every time. And actually, one set of batteries in alkaline anyway will run about 100 vacuum uses. And I do also like the fact that I use these on my mason jars, so I'm not just tied into using, you know, the Kuvings storage set. So I mean, I think that's pretty much it. That is my honest opinion between these two machines. If you guys want to get the best, in my opinion, it's the Dynapro, unless you have certain needs and you want it quieter or you're going to do small quantities, then definitely the Kuvings is the way to go. If you guys enjoyed this episode, I would encourage you guys to support me in my work making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. Now I got to clean up all this stuff and drink my blended salad for tonight for dinner. Yeah, so links are down below to purchase these guys on discountjuicers.com. I appreciate it so much. If you guys like this video, want me to do more vacuum blender videos, which I have a few new vacuum blenders I've been testing and playing with that are going to be coming up really soon, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with others you may think it would help so they could also learn about the benefits of vacuum blending as well. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below and make sure you click that little bell next to the subscribe button so you get notified of my new and upcoming episodes. They're coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 500 episodes at this time, comparing and contrasting all the different brands of juicers and vacuum blenders, dehydrators, and soon freeze dryers on this channel. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit discountjuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.